So, um, in this time of lockdown, I'm spending a lot more time on social media, keeping in touch with people, which is very nice. Two things have happened this week. So I posted a video of me making an omelette, which was in response to people giving me tips for how to make an omelette. And I made an omelette. It wasn't very good. Tasted how I would like it to taste, but it didn't look how I'd like it to look. So I'm going to give that another go at another point. The other thing that I posted about was the arrival of a box of fruit and vegetables, which was lovely. And someone who I went to school with, which was quite a long time ago, and who I'm still in touch with only via Facebook, suggested that with the rhubarb that arrived in that basket, I should make a rhubarb crumble, which got me thinking because, first of all, I love rhubarb crumble, I love rhubarb. When I saw the rhubarb in the basket, I thought, oh, I'm going to make some stewed rhubarb. But actually, a rhubarb crumble I don't think is that difficult. Once you've stewed the rhubarb, making the crumbles actually very easy and quick, if I remember. Now, what's significant about the fact that I know this person from school is that, of course, the first crumble I ever made was in a class which used to be called Home Economics. And Home Economics was basically how to be a housewife, and it was mostly populated by girls, obviously. I was one of, I think, two boys that took the course, or the class, maybe, or I might have been the only one, I don't know, but I fancied it more than metalwork or whatever the other option was. So, now I don't remember very much from Home Economics, except that we cooked scones and we made flapjacks and we made crumble, which seemed then to be a very complicated and interesting thing to make. So anyway, I've chopped my crumble into little segments, popped it in the pan, and I need to add some sugar to that, just to soften it and sweeten it, obviously, because sugar can be rhubarb can be a bit tart. So there's plenty of sugar in there. I've got some ginger in here, which I have chopped and then soaked overnight with some sugar just to sweeten it. So I'm going to put that with all the water and everything in it. So a little bit of ginger goes in there as well, which will be an interesting flavour. Now I don't think I've got enough rhubarb here, actually, for the size pan that I'm using, for the size baking thing that I'm using. So I've done a little bit of research and I've seen that I can add pear to it. So there's a bit more flesh, so I'm going to pop the rhubarb onto that ring, which is on now. And then while I chat to you, I'm going to chop this pear up and pop that in there as well, which was also part of this lovely veg box I got. Right, school, home economics. Yeah, that's an interesting time because I didn't really know about being gay at that point. I didn't really know what it meant, whatever, but I clearly was. And sometimes I was teased for that. I've been bullied sometimes even. So yeah, school wasn't great, always. But when I thought about home economics and rhubarb crumble and some of the friends that I did have at school who were really good friends and really nice, I thought, well, I can still let go of that bad times and try and recreate something from the good times, which was the fact that I could, in fact, hold my own in a home economics class. And that reminds me very much of a play called Torchsong Trilogy, which contains one of my favourite speeches. The character is a gay man, and he's basically sounding off about how he's had to survive in the world without a female partner, is the context, I suppose, because he's saying, I can put up shelves, I can get myself out of a fight, I can do all these things that men are supposed to do, but I can also cook and sew on a button and knit a scarf if I have to. So, gay men going off into the world of potentially singledom, or even if they are in a partnership with another man, needed to know a lot more of wider range of things. Now, I didn't even know that I was gay when I was taking home economics, but clearly it was a very good and perhaps informed decision, which I don't regret, because I've actually have managed to get through life, whether I've been in a partnership or not, being able to look after myself. I certainly have used sewing skills, can sew on a button and darn a sock, and I can also cook and look after myself mostly. I mean, I don't know very much about either of those things, but I can manage, get away with it. I'm going to have to turn that down a bit. So yeah, my cooking, I'm not really following a recipe of those, as I did look at some examples to see how adventurous I could get. Now that needs to simmer for 15 minutes is my understanding. So Alexa, set timer for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
Yay! Right, now the crumble bit. Now, your basic crumble is sugar, flour, butter ground together, but you can add things to it. Some people recommend walnuts. Some people recommend oats, and I have also read that you can put ginger nuts in it. So you sort of crumple up ginger nuts into the mix, and that gives it that extra kind of little gingery flavour. So rhubarb and ginger, very nice combination of flavours. That's smelling really good already. Gosh, okay, so you carry on simmering. Right, so it's about 10% of a packet of this, I reckon. Which is a fair amount, but I need a bit less because I am going to add the oats, which I did pre-soak the oats so that they don't go completely crispy and break a tooth or something, which is entirely possible. And then, you know, why not just go for the whole lot? A couple of ginger biscuits be quite nice. Which how am I gonna do that? How am I gonna do that? That was fun. Okay, I'll break the rest of those in there. So this is quite an adventurous crumble topping now, using several different extra ingredients. Handful of walnuts in there. Chop those up a bit. I think this is right. You know, there's probably some really good cooks out there who would absolutely scream at the way I carry on in a kitchen, but I've managed to feed myself quite well for many years. Okay, so the important and fun part about this is, of course, the butter, which is going to be kneaded so that it gets into the sort of crumbly aspect. But just going to chop up quite a bit of butter is needed for this, about a third of a thingy. And of course sugar, but I'm going to just get this warmed up with my fingers and then bring the sugar to it in a minute. So this is really fun, I have to say. This feeling of kneading butter into the flour is so evocative. Like as I'm doing it, I'm remembering being in class and that sort of excited anticipation of, you're going to cook something and you're going to take it home to your mum and she's going to say, oh, well done, and it's going to be really nice. And then also I remember lots of times being in the kitchen with my mum, watching her cook and, maybe absorbing knowledges that way, which was lovely. My mum actually wasn't a great cook, I have to say. She would cook one or two things which were always a real treat, like a chocolate cake or a crumble. But otherwise not super adventurous, I have to say. But those were different times. There wasn't a lot of money around, and she was raising 3 boys and did very well, I suppose, out of that. Right, this is much harder than I remember. As pleasant as it is to remember all of these things as I'm going along, I'm thinking, oh, am I getting this right? This is quite a tough thing to do. Right, so I'm going to add the sugar because I forgot that, and that would be a disaster, and I can't honestly remember how much I need, so I'm just going to plop a whole bunch in there and hope that this now helps me a bit with the kneading it into a crumble. It needs to go crumbly, right? Which means it needs to come into contact with all of the flour and other bits. And oats. Okay. This is going to be a small disaster if it doesn't stop. Well, I suppose I can add some extra flour. That would be a way. Keeping an eye on the rhubarb so it doesn't boil over, of course, because that's not very nice. So so it's really nice that people commented on the video that I put up about the omelette. That was really sweet. I got some extra, even better tips for how to do an omelette, so I'm definitely going to return to that at some point and see if I can master it. Some people also commented on the video itself and gave me some tips about that, because apparently this landscape is better than the portrait way that I did it before. So, learning as I go along about all sorts of things. Sometimes I think if you just let people know that you don't know something, then they're often very, very willing to help, which is really nice. We think we have to go through the world knowing everything, and that somehow asking for help is wrong. So I know nothing really about cooking. I can cook myself a meal, I can keep myself fed, but something really specialist, I welcome some help, actually. Makes it a really nice experience. I'll tell you, that rhubarb is smelling so good right now. Really, really delicious. This crumble, however, it's not doing exactly what I remember crumble doing. It's staying a bit in a kind of, maybe it's too wet, maybe it's too much butter, I don't know. Adding flour did seem to help just now, so I'm going to carry on that route. See if it helps. It's starting to do it now. Just kind of get into little lumps, interesting little lumps. That is your crumble bit, really, isn't it? Yeah, that little extra flour is what was needed. Okay, there's certainly plenty of it. That is looking so much more like what I remember it should look like. It's starting to get into little lumps and balls and be actually crumbly. Wow. So thanks for this challenge. I suppose it is a challenge. to be given. It's made me think about lots of interesting things. And yeah, this is a real treat. Like having a rhubarb crumble is so nice. As I say, it's really taken me back to the happier parts of my childhood, definitely. Oh, that's great. Look at that now. I mean, you know, it's great for me. I don't know how it's going to cook. I don't know how it's going to come out. I'm sure someone else could have done a better job of a crumble, but that is looking all right as far as I can tell. That is kind of how I remember it should be. But home economics was a long time ago. Okay, the more I'm playing with that, the more it's sort of breaking down, becoming more and more like breadcrumbs, I suppose. Breaking apart the bigger lumps is a good idea. That's looking pretty good. I don't know how it tastes. Tastes alright, yeah. I'm wondering if it's sweet enough. Probably, I think it is. Now, the recipes that I looked at, they recommended brown sugar for this, but I just don't have any, and I'm not going back to the shops for that. So hopefully the addition of the ginger biscuits will give it that edge of sweetness. And oh, okay, that's looking kind of how I want it to look. Lovely. I think that's how it should look. So at this point, we're just waiting for the rhubarb to finish. Okay, I'll throw this away, move these away. Keep my station tidy. Back in the cupboard. That's kind of, I think. Oh yeah, by the way, one of the things that nobody mentioned, and I thank you for that, is the state of the cupboard under here, which I hadn't watched, and this camera angle really brought it out, so I noticed that and I've fixed that. But I have to say, I was also equally shocked by the muck around the edge of the cooker, and that is almost impossible to clean. I would absolutely love to know how, but I think it needs a new coat of paint, frankly. Or some proper tiles or something around there, but that, as I say, I'm in a rented place. It's not really my responsibility to get that done. But yeah, so sorry about that, but you know, I'm not throwing food against it and then eating it, so just have to make do. But I have cleaned this for you, so that feels a bit better. Okay, how long have we got on this one? Let's see what's going on here. Oh yes. Oh yes. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So off with that, on with the oven. Now again, another thing I'm having to compromise on, I don't have a little sort of proper dish for this. So I'm going to use this, which is the nearest I've got. Not ideal. Ideally it would be sort of shorter and fatter, but I'm not making a special trip out for that at the moment. I'll just have to see if this works, and if it doesn't, well, sorry. I think even if this is not very good, I think what I'll have is a bowl of hot rhubarb with a delicious topping, and that's good enough for me. Right, let me wash my hands and see how long I've got to go on this. I'm feeling like I don't need to wait the full 15 minutes, because that is looking pretty good, and it's going to go in the oven, isn't it? Where it will continue to heat. So, just just going to take a, not going to wait for Alexa, I'm going to just take a vote on that one. Wow. Lovely. So do you want to see that? Yeah, there's the delicious rhubarb and pear and ginger filling. It smells fantastic. But as you see, yeah, there's not enough of it to really spread, so that's going to be a disaster, isn't it? But maybe not. Maybe not. Who knows? I'm sure it's still going to be tasty. So the base should be deeper than that. Didn't have enough rhubarb. Could have added more pears, I suppose. And at this point, I'm just going to add the crumble mixture. This is obviously going to be a crumble which is more topping than filling, but actually I quite like the topping, so that's okay. Lovely. Oh, there's the 15 minutes. Alexa, stop. Okay, gonna have to, some of these need to be broken up a bit. And there's a little bit of that juice is kind of soaking into it, which, if I remember rightly, is absolutely delicious because it kind of absorbs the flavour of the rhubarb. Okay, there we go. So there is the crumble on the rhubarb mixture, and that lot I'm going to pop straight in the oven. And yeah, well, I won't let you wait while that cooks, and I can't do that here's one I made earlier thing, because this is the first one I made in, I don't know, 35 years, more probably. But I will be sure to post a little picture of it when it's finished. So thank you for joining me for my rhubarb crumble adventure, and I'll I'll speak to you soon, and I welcome all of your tips for what I might have done better.